The brand new and reworked Revenant has arrived with a massive amount of ways to utilize his abilities. We have so much to go over, from tips for all his abilities, gameplay examples, ranking him in the meta, and a lot more. Big thanks for the support on my previous Revenant guide. It's the most viewed legend guide I have on the channel, and y'all seem to love it. So let's get you on your way to mastering the new and improved Revenant in Apex Legends. For the most part, Rev's reworked kit all works together to increase his fighting power, but for starters, his passive is Assassin's Instinct, which still lets him have that higher climbing, but now with increased possibilities in the horizontal, plus faster crouch walking speed. It also now lets him target and identify low health enemies, and will add an additional ping or mark on them if Revenant himself is the one to get them to low health. The higher climbing was unchanged in the vertical and is still about 6 times the height of a normal character, or 25 to 30ish meters. Revenant also gets faster climbs, even if it is a shorter one, due to the increased speed he starts climbs with. This does mean he can very quickly climb up on enemies and shoot them in the side, even if it is a small object that he is mantling. However, the climbing is now much better to flank enemies in an atypical way. You can now climb in the horizontal for almost an infinite amount of time, as long as you are ever so slightly pushing Revenant upwards, and you're going to be more or less limited to the length of the wall or the area that you are climbing. This means the first combat technique is to climb around on walls to pop up in areas where enemies will just not expect. The climbing was already good to flank enemies from unsuspecting angles, but now assaulting buildings or areas by climbing horizontally where someone will not expect even more so is huge. Also, if any spot or building doesn't have a 90-degree turn or square turn, you can more than likely climb around this corner, so keep this in mind as well. Sometimes, if you are in trouble, dipping out and attaching to a wall as you fall and then climbing on it horizontally is a massive big brain tactic to escape and reposition. Other than this, always be on the lookout for terrain that you can utilize, as I can't stress enough just how much players do not expect Revenant to pop up from somewhere that they think is locked down and safe. There's not much to know about Revenant's faster crouch walking speed, but it can be useful to crouch walk into an area to make a stealth play on an enemy, but with increased speed compared to a normal character's crouch walking speed. Also, popping healing items is going to let you move at the same speed as walking, and thus it can be better to reduce your overall hitbox size while still having a small amount of increased mobility while healing. His tactical is going to be where things start to get crazy, but if you are wondering why you would even want to play Revenant, well, he is going to be mostly for someone who is looking to play extremely aggressive by leaping onto teams or leaping to angle off enemies and using his climbing to flank enemies, not to mention the enhanced one-on-one power he has with his ultimate. Rev is Apex's resident assassin, and his kit is now very reflective of this. Revenant's tactical is Shadow Pounce. This is a 20 to 50 meter pounce or jump with a 25-second cooldown. You can either tap the ability to get a quick short jump of 20 meters or hold it down to its full charge, getting a 50-meter leap. I personally don't recommend the 20-meter jump that much, as I find even just charging it and holding it down for a fraction of a second is going to net a more consistent leap that is much further and faster. The biggest thing to not do with the leap is to purely look in the vertical. This jump has minimal to no viability by jumping really outside of, say, 30 to 40 degrees to the ground. If you want to go vertically more than, say, 10 meters, you're probably just better off climbing or leaping into a wall and then going straight into a climb. This is right, like we said at the start, Revenant's new abilities do work together, and you can leap straight into a wall and instantly start climbing. I find this very important to do if you don't want to leap into an enemy sightline. Leaping into a wall and climbing up will be a little bit better to stay concealed until you are actually ready to fire, as your weapons are generally not out while you are leaping forward. There, however, are a couple ways you can better use the leap and still get your guns up quicker. The first is that if you slide off of an object while holding the pounce and release after you start falling to the ground, your weapon will instantly be brought up. This may be a glitch, so it could be patched in the future, and I will let you know in my pinned comment down below if this or anything else changes with Revenant, plus how he is just faring the meta as a whole. Second is that if you charge the leap, jump and look down, say at a 30-degree or so downward angle, you will be able to more or less float across the ground with a much lower arc. Typically, Revenant won't be able to bring up his guns until he comes back in contact with something like the ground, so if you do this lower arc fly or levitate, you will hit the ground sooner and just start sliding in the direction you want to go with some insane speed, and your guns will be drawn up. This lower launch is very viable, and in my opinion, the way you will want to launch more times than not if you are not trying to ascend in height. You also want to try your best to land and use the ability in spots that lets you slide off of objects. Anytime you can slide down hills, edge slide off objects, and just use terrain to your advantage, you are going to greatly increase your travel distance and speed. This is great for attacking and forcing plays, but I find it's even more important for escaping out of bad situations, since Revenant Revenant can jump or leap from a standstill, staying behind cover and repositioning when you might have taken big damage, or if you did just overextend, is a very great way to get yourself out of trouble and reset that fight. If you are in a one-on-one fight, fighting around buildings and or on doors, you can utilize the leap to your advantage. If you are camping on a door, say trying to heal after taking some damage, and an enemy is running to the other side, camping on it or trying to kick it down, you can leap from that doorway to greatly reposition and make a quick getaway if they are trying to breach to you. Similarly, if you are trying to fight a team that is being held up in a building, sometimes assaulting from one doorway and then leaping to the backside of a building or an alternate entry point is a really nice way to quickly surprise enemies, since Revenant does have this super fast repositional power. It's pretty obvious that using the leap to gain general high ground is the most basic of strategies that you can utilize, but you can also leap into zip lines and instantly connect to them, which can be great if you want to avoid taking some big damage while riding on a zip. This can also be done to reposition yourself while you are traveling on a zip line as well. In general, when it does come to that shadow pounce, the biggest thing is to really be creative with your plays. There is so much room for freedom and flexibility with this that you need to be fairly creative as a player. This is even more so the case when you do combo together Revenant's ultimate Forged Shadows. And this is of course when you combo hitting in that like button as well. I know you want to do it. Also, if you're still here, drop an emoji or comment down below to let me know and it'll be our little secret. Forged Shadows create a 75 damage shield of protection around Revenant upon its activation. This shield does have a larger hitbox, so it will be much easier for enemies to break it down, but having a flat increase in your total health pool does mean having a lot more options in a one-on-one or multi-team fight. Take note that only the hitbox of the 75 damage shield is increased and not all of Revenant as per the lore or the dev team. The shadows are just around Rev protecting him. The first and one of the most important features of this ability is that it does last 25 seconds, but more importantly, you can get 10 seconds added onto your duration for every knock that you do get. Also, for every knock, your shield instantly becomes recharged. While Revenant is not per se a massive tanky-like character, he definitely has tank-like properties, and Revenant will really want to be the first one to enter the battle for the team. This is because he can absorb up to 300 total damage if he does have a red Evo shield and that ultimate is active. You get a knock, and this means you have another instant 75 shield recharge, and now you're acting like a 375 health enemy. Do you get it? The health pool Rev brings to the table is huge. When I say Revenant should be the first one to enter the battle, this could literally mean Revenant is just the first one to appear in enemy sightlines, so maybe it's just a fraction of a second, but taking that extra damage is so critical to team fights since he has some insta replenish tactics and won't per se have to pop a battery like someone else would. Note that even if you do not get a knock, your shield will recharge as long as you're not taking damage, and you will be able to get another go with that shield during the ultimate as long as you have a little passive aggressiveness in your game. All this does not mean you can't play ignorantly though, as you're not invincible, so don't just sprint into that battle with no regards to your safety. You're not an Octane, don't do that. I do see a lot of Revenants doing this right now, and it just is not the way to go. I think arguably the biggest part of the ultimate, even beyond the shield and the bonus health and being a walking tank, is the fact that you get increased tactical usage, so more pounces. Every knock that you get, the tactical comes back, and even without this, the tactical's cooldown is reduced in half during the ultimate, so only 12 seconds, and upon ultimate activation, the remaining cooldown is cut in half as well. This means pop the ultimate, leap into battle, get a knock, reposition with another leap, maybe heal or reset, and then hop back in shortly later. Who knows, if you do get another knock, you get another 10 seconds, and yet again, another leap to do your thing. One of the first gameplay examples I do want to showcase is the Rampage and Revenant combo. Basically, you're going to charge up a Rampage, break down a door, and then super slide into a building at incredible speed. You're going to notice here, I slide right past his horizon. She doesn't even realize that I am flying into the room, and I am able to get a couple kills this way. Shortly after this, I am going to die from the ring, and I do notice this, so I just fly out of a doorway, doing the reverse, flying out of a building, and I do go a solo player that is camping me on the other side of this bin. The Rampage and Revenant tactical leap combo is very strong. I definitely recommend you try it out, and it is a lot of fun. The next example is just a small little note that you can crouch strafe in fights with much more effectiveness. Since you are going to be crouching up and down, and you are Revenant, you will not lose any speed, and you can move quite quickly by doing this type of intermediate crouches. If you want to cancel a tactical leap, meaning maybe someone catches you off guard like this Ashe, you can melee melee, and it is going to stop that tactical leap. Next is to pop the ultimate or save the ultimate for a last minute health replenish. Like this example right here, I get knocked down to about 40 to 50 health. I pop my ultimate. I'm now at about 125, and then I go do an armor swap as well, which means I'm around 200 health, and the enemy I am fighting doesn't even realize that I have a near 175 health replenish with that swap and that ultimate activation. Revenant right now is honestly better than he has ever been. He does not bring anything directly to the team, and thus his rating, tier rank, or whatever will be a little bit lower because of this. For me though, I think he's a soft A legend, probably somewhere right in the middle of the pack, or maybe either just outside that top 10. He's a really great aggressive legend if you do want to frag out lobbies and pubs, but I probably would look somewhere else for ranked. Be sure to check out this video though if you are looking for over 100 ways to improve your skills. Hit that like button, sub for more, and I will see you in the next one.